Hi, and welcome to 40 Gray, a podcast by two 30-something dudes whose adult lives and responsibilities haven't eclipsed our zeal for stupid, nerdy shit. From 40K to video games to, Transformers to Florida Man. If it's your fandom, we're your tandem. As always, I'm Ben, aka LS Demon, and I'm joined by Tommy Bones, Bonesaw Miniatures at Instagram. Tom.
Hello.
Tom, we got some very special guests joining us today, in addition to us, don't we?
We do. Super excited.
That's right. My mom is finally on the show.
Welcome, Mrs. Ben's mom.
Mrs. Ben's mom. I know you're disappointed with how my life turned out, but no, just kidding. We've got Alfabusa and Speaker, the men themselves behind such awesome work as Warhammer, Emperor Text-to-Speech. If the Emperor had a podcast, there's probably some others I'm forgetting. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. You forgot to mention Emperor's Finest.
Yeah, and you also forgot to mention the Borealcast.
Fuck you! I told you you're not allowed to talk about that. I told you from the beginning. Kick him out. Kick him out. Kick him out. No,
All right.
I will not have this. I will not
just-
have this on this podcast.
We're on Zoom, so I'm going to send you an unhappy reaction here. There we go.
No, that the laughing crying emoji is not as severe a punishment as I expected.
Oh, I thought it was just crying. Here's a heart, as in you ripped my heart out.
There you go.
Blood
you.
red.
I forgot about it now.
So for those that don't know, you guys are responsible for one of the biggest, I'd say, universes of content in the Warhammer fandom and one of the last kind of remaining bastions of free thought. Boy, that sounds like really a post-apocalyptic, doesn't it? That's a little too intense.
Yeah. We control the final water mine in this blasted
dooming.
wasteland.
Dooming away.
Who control Watertown? Blaster Master. You guys, thanks for being on the show. I'd love to start with a little bit. Could you both just introduce yourselves and a little bit about what are the roles you play in the creation of the show? And for those that know your voices sound familiar, what are some of the characters that you play?
Speaker, you go ahead first. You're more used to this.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Hi, I'm Speaker D, whatever. I'm one of the lead writers of the If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device. I also do some voice directing from time to time. And I also am Pie Brain on Warham's, as well as Mercurian on Warham's Fantasy. In addition, for TTS, I voice Asdrubal Vect, the Emperor when he's not on a text-to-speech device, Hammurabi, and I voice Bellicor now too. That's exciting. And so yeah, that's essentially me. If you like any of those strange individuals or any of those projects, I probably had some to do with it.
Speaker, it's great to meet you. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, great to be here. Absolutely.
Yeah, I am Alfabusa. I am the creator of the big fan fiction If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device internet series. That's it, I think. Oh, wait, hold on. I did play the Snotling Snorg on Warham's once, the ever-punished Snotling, who was also probably a Gene Stealer cultist. That was fun. Those are all the feats I have accomplished in my life.
Wait, hold on. You're forgetting something.
Yeah.
You're forgetting your important working relationship with the tabletop visionary, Mr. Dragonblade?
We don't. I don't think I talk about that.
Is it too exclusive?
He kind of hates me. This is gonna sound really bad out of context, but
Oh no.
desperately want to give you context for this, but I feel like I can't just for the sake of what's the wrestling word?
Oh, the kayfabe.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Are you guys wrestling fans too?
Absolutely. I'm a wrestling fan. I'm gonna get Alpha sometime soon.
Because that's one of the topics. Well, it's not really a thing in a lot of the US, but that's one of the passions that we have on the side that we cover from time to time.
Oh, awesome.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did an episode not too long ago.
Oh, about what in particular?
The weirdest gimmicks that we've ever seen.
That sounds very good. That's one of the things that fascinate me most about wrestling as someone who has barely watched wrestling. I really like the gimmick characters.
Spoiler alert, a lot of them were super racist.
Oh yes.
That's it. It was funny. It started out as kind of like a lighthearted episode, then it became like a really dark expose on American culture from the 80s.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Delving into the dark recesses of history.
Yeah.
Speaking of dark recesses, what thinking back to your childhood or youth? Yeah, no, that's a great segue. What brought you both into your love of 40K? Like, how'd you first get into the hobby or get attached to the lore?
Well, Speaker, do you want us to go first, or?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, it's kind of a very strange set of like fortunate circumstances. As a kid, I always sort of wished, like without understanding or knowing what 40K was, that there was a game like 40K, like a game where you can, control your own armies. I was like, oh, that'd be so cool. You could like make your own and they could look like whatever they wanted. Oh my God, I wish this existed. And like I expressed this one day to someone who just said pretty much verbatim, bro, that's just Warhammer. And so I walked to like this nondescript shady game store, played a practice game that I didn't fully understand. And I was like, I like this. I should come back here. However, I had a terrible condition at the time. I was like 11 years old and I did not know directions or how to navigate. So my love of 40K went unabated for some time. But eventually got into it in high school a lot. Became president of my local tabletop game club, whatever. Found some friends and got an absurd amount of clearance models. And I've been addicted to plastic bullshit ever since.
And Speaker, was there like a first faction or army that captured your 11-year-old heart?
Yes, there was. When I first started playing, I did gravitate for my very first practice game to the Tau because I thought they looked like battle droids.
Oh, boo!
I like them. Oh, no, don't worry. No. They weren't the army I actually wound up playing. Because later I found out more information and I realized that it's not normal for you to be that bad in combat. So I started playing Chaos Demons as a young Babino in 5th edition, back when they were the worst army in the game. And I had a lot of fun with them until the Grey Knights Codex came out, in which case the worst army in the game became the worsterest army in the game. And I picked up Dark Eldar, who are my one true love.
Oh, there you go. Awesome. Yeah, I did fucking hate the tab, mostly just because I can never win against them. But I think we got a player that comes on pretty often who's a Dark Elder guy, and I can't beat him either. So, Speaker, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you joined
antithesis.
I'm the antithesis.
We do love some Chaos Demons. Speaking of demons, Alfabusa, what brought you into 40K?
Well, I was 9 years old and saw my friend's brother's models, and I thought they were supremely cool. Then I went to my local hobby shop and bought my first model, and that's the way it went. That is how I got into Warhammer. Just for the record, my first model was the Thorn champion on a horse for Warhammer Fantasy. I don't know why I picked that one in particular, probably because it looked cool.
Yeah.
But I am never done like a coordinate army for fantasy or anything like that. So the thing that happened afterwards was I got a pack of Tomb Kings, a Tomb Kings regiment box from my parents on Christmas later that year, I'm pretty sure, which is then what properly spiraled me into the fate that I have landed in.
Awesome on both counts. Curious, I know, growing up in the US, I think because I moved a lot, there was one place I lived where there was a games workshop, but most of the rest of the time I was stuck trying to find a hobby shop that actually sold models. I don't know if you guys, if you had a games workshop you had access to or a hobby shop, but I'm curious, was there's something about the hobby culture that also drew you in?
Well, for me, okay, so there was the local hobby shop that I have here in my little town. That hobby shop is still going, which I think is very interesting. It's not a games workshop. It's just a hobby shop called The Hobby Shop, but in Swedish. And I think the thing that made me extra enthused about it for some reason was just, other than the fact that Warhammer looks very aesthetically, I don't know, cool to a child. There was also this, one of the owners of the hobby shop, who is now a friend of mine, was I don't know, he had the sensei energy, I suppose. we kind of looked up to him as this fucking hobby god at the time when we were 9, 11, 10. I think at one point we actually got the opportunity, we managed to somehow he offered us to teach us how to play the game in the hobby shop. I think this was around when Battle for Macragge had released, or a couple of months after. So we were going to play Macragge with him, and that was the most exciting thing that I had ever like experienced. And we were like going to go and meet up with him again and play another game and just actually get involved with the game, which we weren't able to because, first of all, we didn't know English at all. We couldn't read the books. Second of all, none of our parents could decipher the books. Even if they knew like a little bit of English, they couldn't decipher this advanced level of English. So, but he could. So to actually get the opportunity to play this cool fucking game was like amazing. And then we never picked it up on it again. And it ran out into the sand for years and years.
I love that story for a lot of reasons. I think, first of all, certainly, even if you spoke a little bit of English, would be extremely hard to decipher the rules. I mean, Tom and I picked up Kill Team a few years ago, and we're still fucking things up that we only found out about when we went to our first tournament.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, you can attack through walls? I quit. But it's interesting, like if that young man hadn't kind of taken the time and been a mentor figure to you, like who knows if it would have cultivated as much love for the hobby, which then maybe text to speech wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, no, that is completely true. I have consistently thrown a lot of credit at him, and now I use all of them, like the money I get from my Patreon, and just spend it on models at his hobby shop. Keep it running.
That's a great story. And
I feel no shame over my pile of quote unquote shame, because that money was well spent, no matter if I put together models or not.
Oh yeah, and you happen to be quite good at putting together models. At the very least, you have quite an impressive collection at this point.
Oh yeah, I cannot paint models for shit. Like I'm really bad at painting, and I don't want to do it. But I do and really enjoy putting together fun models. So I'm commissioning my other Swedish friend to paint the models for me, and he's really good at painting them in kind of an essentially kind of like a muted ink 28 style, more or less, is what he tends to go for. And I love it. I adore it, and I have an army of essentially a gene stealer cult, and it is like every time I look at it, I get like a boost of serotonin that helps me through the day.
So that's actually one of the questions I was going to ask is, what's your favorite model in your collection? To both of you, Alfabusa, is that your favorite one, the gene stealer cult model?
Well, my gene stealer cult army it's a bit weird because it's essentially the idea was, okay, I want a gene stealer cult because I love gene stealer cults, but I want it to be unique. So I made it a Beastman gene stealer cult. At this point, it's kind of a multi-cult as well, because I've also thrown in like snotlings and vespids. I have like vespids.
That's awesome.
I just kind of want to like throw in every cool model that I can find. But it's primarily Beastman. And I do have a model that I am going to play if I get the opportunity to actually play with it. That I play as I'm gonna play it as what's it called, the Tyranid, the Smoke Forge World Malanthrope. Yeah.
Oh,
that is essentially a kit badge between a Malanthrope and a Bull Centaur and some other bits and pieces, and it has a really cool like silhouette. I really like it. That is one of several, like many several that I really like. But yeah. Anyways, speaker, please.
My turn. Yeah, I do not have a like especially fantastic painter friend, so I rely on my own ability to paint, which is like almost zero. And so my hobby projects tend to look like terrible car crashes. I've gotten a lot better recently, but one thing I am actually good at is I found I'm actually reasonably decent at kit bashing and conversions. And so I think some of my favorite models are I don't really play Chaos too much these days. I've sort of phased out of them largely, but I've got some really fun Chaos conversions. Like I've got a Chaos spawn I converted out of a Crisis suit. That's like like a pilot exploded inside and is like oozing out.
Cool.
It's like this like amorphous weird kind of sludge. It's got like a guardsman and it's sucking him in. But I think really my favorite effect is probably my shittiest one, which is I have a Chaos Space Marine Havoc that has a heavy bolter, but it seems to have broke, and he is wielding it with two hands vertically like a club.
if it makes you feel better, I've been trying to paint these things for like 20 years at this point, and they just look like garbage. And it sucks because Tom, he's got this Instagram channel where he shows some of the amazing effects he does, and he's got the spray paint thingy.
What's your Instagram? I like
No,
Instagram.
don't give me too much credit. It's
I like to follow model people on Instagram.
it's Bonesaw Miniatures. Yeah, so my tagline is basically inartistic mini painter trying to become less inartistic. So you could follow me in real time and watch as I go to slightly maybe above average, hopefully.
Yeah.
Stay optimistic, as we always say.
Practice makes perfect and whatnot.
So really, to get you, Speaker, into Ink 28 though, because
you've gotten me. I just haven't. The reason why I haven't gotten more into it is that all the models I recently have are all Harlequins, and the idea of assembling them is incredibly anxiety inducing because of just like Harlequins are built to give you anxiety, to have you build like a bunch of them, paint them meticulously, and then you find out that the weapon choice that you selected for the edition is now terrible and you want to like explode. So I'm like, every time I sit down and I start working on it, I'm like, all right, what should I build? Kisses, caresses? I don't know. And it's like, and they're like the same. It's so irritating because they're the same fucking thing, but they're like so drastically different. And if you build the wrong one, no, you're in F tier now.
Slit your throat.
Side note: the language of we actually had a whole episode on weapons, and I was making fun of the fact that, like, if you're talking about your Harlequin team, it sounds like you're talking about an adult movie. It's like, would I rather have a kiss or a caress or a hug or the Harlequin gentle like butt pat?
Exactly. That's it. They're a really lovely army. That is just hell on earth to think about. Oh God, I will explode. When they get a new codex, maybe I'll be more certain about it. I don't know.
Maybe they should release more models.
They should. They have like less models than I think like Blood Angels have unique models.
No, seriously, there's so much potential with the Harlequins because their lore is so like vague.
Sweet. Yeah.
Like it's kind of criminal that the Harlequins have such grounded models, but they could make like walking circus tents and like circus animals and just go like crazy with it.
Oh yeah.
They could like grab anything from the webway because the webway is kind of weird in the first place. They could justify much weirder models, which would be much more appealing to me at least.
I agree. I am unfortunately, as the premier Eldar stan of the TTS crew, God hates Eldar. But hopefully, we lost all our special characters spam. Have you? I tried playing Craft World once, man. Have you seen those sculpts? Oh my God,
they're older than you are.
They are. They're like old enough to vote and die in war.
They were old enough to vote during Bill Clinton's presidency.
Exactly. We're gaming in the Clinton years of these fucking models. It's terrifying.
Hard to be an old man in a young man's game.
Hard to be an old man. True. Very true.
On that note, so where did the idea for text-to-speech come from?
Okay, so I do not remember exactly when I wrote the original script. I just kind of found it on my computer one day. I probably wrote it like in late 2012 and then forgot about it and then found it again in 2013. More or less. And then when I read it, I was like, oh, this is pretty funny. I'm going to make this a video now. And then I did. And then people, for some reason, thought it also was funny because you had a lot lower standards in 2013. And other than the fact that the very first comment I got was from my friend Larry asking me where his birthday video was, there was mostly just comments asking, can you make this a series? This has so much potential. Make this a series. And then I did a second episode, and that one got even more like good reception. And then by episode 3, I came up with a story for what like probably could or should, or just because I wanted to happen as a result of the Emperor reacting to the state of the Imperium being even more dystopic and horrid than when he was alive. And that's just how it continued on since, just us coming up with more and more plot beats and silly thesis statement stuff, general fun stuff to present throughout the series. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I guess.
How'd you end up choosing Magnus and Dorn for the really important, almost like deuteragonist roles next to the Emperor?
Oh, Lord. For Dorn, I am unsure if it was that big. Like I don't think there was a whole lot. Like he was lost, knew that much.
Mm-hmm.
He had mysteriously disappeared. I reckoned, oh, well, maybe he just went to Terra and hid there to guard the Emperor, considering he had a lot of guilt after the Horus Heresy. So I was just like, okay, he goes to Terra, like he travels through the galaxy and ends up on Terra again to then, give a vow of silence and just stand by the Emperor's side in his Centurion suit. And it was the joke was like the reason was mostly that, oh, we have this Centurion character. What if he was Dorn? Like that was it.
And
Like,
the rest was history.
It was just kind of, oh, we have this opportunity to have this be Dorn in like this funny haha plot twist. And that's just how it went.
I hope that the Dorn that you guys feature is canon, because I cannot take him without the mustache now. Like if he doesn't have the mustache, he's not Dorn for me.
Yeah, unfortunately, he does not have the mutton chops whatsoever.
He does if you have green stuff.
This is true.
It's true.
If he returns, like if Games Workshop goes full like, we're just gonna do whatever we please and brings back Dorn anyway for some reason. If he has a mustache, that'd be pretty neat. But I'm pretty sure that it's just a thing that we like. It was a fan interpretation back in the day. And we just kind of went with it because we thought it would fit, and just to differentiate it from 30K Dorn essentially, and show that there is a bit of passage of time. But anyway, for Magnus, so Magnus is a lot like his father. Like his story is entangled with the fate of the Imperium and the Emperor in a way like very unique to all Primarchs, and going past how he was, obviously wronged in many ways. He is, much like his father, blind to his own failings and sees himself as like an ultimate authority. And his hubris has him suffer failure after failure. Like he is selfish to the core, a clear reflection of the Emperor, a know-it-all with a lot of power to enforce his will. So like him throwing ball with the Emperor is, of course, naturally funny, as the two inevitably crash into each other and over. Also, he's very popular. Certain books has painted him as very easy to empathize with, and he has consistently been seen as one of the Primarchs that'd be the easiest to reconvert to the Imperium, essentially. And this is something I know one book recently even doubled down on, one of the Horus Heresy books, or the Siege of Terra books, as the Emperor tried to convince Magnus to come and sit on his throne despite being rotten to the core with chaos. And he even promised him leadership of the up-and-coming Grey Knights if he was a good boy and returned to the fold, but it made it a very easy pick. Like Magnus Magnus was essentially very, very easy to fit into the mold of the series and have him, scream at the Emperor screams back. It was a pretty natural fit, I guess.
It does feel so natural because, as you say, in the fiction, it just seems like if the Emperor was a little bit more empathetic or understood people a little bit more, he could have prevented it, and he could have brought Magnus back, and that he's just waiting for someone to come and kind of validate him and bring him back. So
absolutely.
And in watching, the Emperor just in the show, like smack Zinch and get Magnus's soul back, it was just like this weird, like nerd fulfillment moment of like, yes. So thank you for that moment.
Yeah, we'll see how we go forward with that character relationship in particular, because Magnus in our series, is getting better, but I wouldn't say that the Emperor is getting a whole lot better in conjunction. Like, I think that his actions are to a large extent pretty superficial or something like that. Like he's an asshole. Like the Emperor is straight up an asshole, and he has a long way to go before he can actually get some proper character development or whatever, as opposed to Magnus.
So then, question to both of you. Obviously, I just mentioned the Magnus Redemption arc is a nerd fantasy. Are there any other Primarchs that you guys would love to see in the show, or that deep down you'd really hope can get redeemed?
I know what Speaker D is going to answer. He's
Am I? Do you?
yeah.
Yeah. What am I gonna say?
Starts
Joseph
with an
Joestar me.
A.
Oh, an A? Yeah, I really hope that the TTS crew gets around to doing something with, Alfarius. I'm a big fan, and I just really would like it if Alfarius were to, in some way factor into the series. But this is probably a pipe dream, and it's unlikely for that to ever happen. But no, but in terms of actually, I guess Primarchs, I guess without saying too much, I feel like the Primarchs that we bounce off each other, I mean, like, we sort of have an expectation that at some point, probably even for the Primarchs that are fucking dead as doornails, we will do something at least to acknowledge that they exist. And so we will probably get to do some sort of TTS version of something another. I wouldn't be surprised, and this is not a plan that we have, but if we ever wanted to look at what was going on with fucking Ferrus Manus back in the Horus Heresy, we can kind of do that. So I suppose the question is instead, which characters we're more excited to see appear in the story? And I have to say, of all of the Primarchs, my favorite are our good old friend Rabuda Gilliman.
Oh yeah, I actually
And
agree.
that's going to be a lot of fun, I think, when we finally add some Gathering Storm context to the wider series, and we get to have Gilliman appear. Because much of the idea for TTS, the idea that, all right, the Emperor's back. Oh my God, you people are idiots. Oh my God, we got to fix everything. That's very much a thing that GW is more doing now with some of the modern lore, with Rabuda Gilliman. Though in 5th edition, he was sort of reviled as like this specter of like GW favoritism and lore writing. Now, I think that his reputation has kind of rightfully sort of eliminated itself, improved. And I think that I'm just very excited to see a character that is so constructive appear, because everyone's kind of like a really funny idiot.
Yeah,
that's fun. And I'm sure Gilliman is also a funny idiot in his own way. But like the Primarchs tend to be sort of smarter than the typical TTS characters, because TTS sort of takes place with this assumption that pretty much everyone is stupid. And I'm excited to see characters like him and the other Primarchs that are maybe a little bit more focused on building rather than the destroying. And of course Alfarius, but as we all know, there's no such Primarch, so he will never be appearing.
Or he could be in it right now. We don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't know what you're talking about.
We don't know.
Wait a minute. Are you Speaker? Are you Alfarius?
I need the next question. Can we get the next question, please?
I want to say in regard to what I cannot wait to do with Gilliman, because I actually agree. I think I want Gilliman back the most, because there's a lot of potential with this character, in particular because, as Speaker said, he is going to be like one of few that are actually constructive in their approach. And I think he's just going to have an existential nightmare coming back coming into the series. I reckon he will try to be like the ultimate straight man and try to set everything in place. And I feel like he is going to need to go into a closet and listen to some ASMR on his lonesome. Because he gets so quickly and so often overwhelmed by the amount of incredulity that goes on. So I cannot wait for that. That's going to be a lot of fun, I think.
What kind of do you think he does? Like rain sounds? Is it whispering, or is it like Tibetan symbols?
No. Funky Kong ASMR.
Yeah. If every TTS character listens to Funky Kong ASMR every single one.
Yeah, it's the only reason why they can go through the day.
It's this weird thing that just everyone happens to have in common. I just want to say one last thing on the subject of Gilliman, I suppose, in Primarchs. I think it's really fun to have Gilliman, who has now kind of had his entire reputation redeemed since the 5th edition days. I think it'll be really fun to have him contend with an Ultramarines chapter that was essentially written at the height of people hating Ultramarines and is thus characterized as such.
Oh, God.
And I think that disconnect is going to be a lot of fun. And two, another Primarch I would love to do something with is crime arc I actually never really liked, and I've recently become like inundated with why they're cool. I hope we at some point get a chance to do something cool with Sanguinius, even though he is at presently burger meat.
I'd eat that burger.
A heretic burger. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
I'll put, it's funny, Speaker, you were talking about like kind of ebbs and flows. Like you'll read a book and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is a really interesting characterization of a character I hadn't thought of before. For me lately, like the last couple books, it's been Perturabo is like a pretty interesting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, mm-hmm. Yeah, I get. Did you read in particular the his book?
Yeah, I'm doing Angel Exterminatus right now, and it's kind of like with Magnus. It's like, man, if the Emperor could just like get his shit together and just be like, I love you, you're a good dude. Like, it might be okay,
He could have ended up okay.
Yeah.
Poor old Pert.
Peter Turbo, as we call it. Actually, we call Robute is rodent guillotine for us.
I'm a big fan of Robot Girly Man myself.
Robot Girly Man, love it.
Classic.
Gorilla Man also.
So can you tell us a little bit about the process for making episodes? I know you've got a lot of actors involved and time differences being on opposite ends of the world.
Hey, yes, Speaker, do we want to take this one?
Oh yeah, sure.
In the process?
Indeed, yeah. Well, our process has changed a bit over time. I think now it's as healthy and efficient as it's ever been. Back in the old days, it was kind of just like really like the Wild West, it'd be like, all right, we get this Google Doc, someone write for it. And just that would like anyone could kind of step up, honestly. And it was like a very strange day. Now we're sort of more of a system to where myself, Erndil, and Alpha are more in, I guess, the reins of what we're doing. We have weekly meetings, and while time differences are a huge pain in the ass, they're mostly a pain in the ass for voice direction reasons, because I have, as of late, been able to shift to doing this as kind of my, I guess, present job, I suppose. I've been getting up at Swedish time, so 5:30 a.m. to write for Titus and make funny joke. And while that is hard because I am a night owl by trade, it is really efficient and honestly fulfilling. It's just really fun to kind of get up in the morning and just work with Alpha on this bullshit. And so largely, I would say the process goes, the evil council decides we want an episode made. We deliberate who amongst the evil council will write the base script, or who, like which of the two or three or whatever.
Write down the plot beats from the plot Bible, more or less.
Exactly. Like I give an example for our newest upcoming podcast. I won't say any details, but essentially it was decided we would have a podcast about this subject. I said, okay, I'll grab it. I've written the base script, almost done with it. And once that's complete, everyone, and as that's being completed, everyone will kind of go in and we'll take a look and we'll say, oh, this joke sucks. This grammar sucks. This sucks. And then once we've made it not suck, then we'll keep refining it, finish it. And then once that script is completed, we'll go ahead and we'll grab our voices and our voice actors. We'll bring them in. We'll have them record with us, send the huge postulating, terrible file to Alpha because he's very specific. He wants you to do an entire really long recording of the session so he can take your outtakes and put it in the episode on occasion, which I think is genius.
Yeah.
And I think has led to some of the best lines in the series.
Also, commission artwork, of course.
Oh, yes, commissioning artwork. And eventually, once all of that's kind of rendered down, then it mostly becomes Alpha's wheelhouse, as he and his sort of coterie of evil geniuses sort of get to the work of editing and manufacturing the series. And I think doing this has allowed us to really work a lot more efficiently and combat some of the legendary long pauses between TTS shit. This process has become most refined, I think, for the episodes that are about to be released.
Currently, we're in a bit of a big lull. It's also evidently partially because I am dad now, so...
Yes, congratulations. We didn't know if you want to talk about that or not, but I have already,
I threw out a message about it on like Instagram and Patreon already. So
there you go.
It is public knowledge. But yeah, due to that, and due to the fact that mostly due to that, honestly, it's been going a bit slower. I have recently been releasing parts of episode 30, which also, this is kind of a bottleneck in that episode 30 has been, God. It has been really hard to edit because it's a prolonged warfare scene, kind of like episode 26, part 1, which has entailed me animating a lot of, well, battling, essentially. And this has meant that the episode has taken extra time to make, which sucks, of course. But now that I'm actually getting back into work a little bit, I'm hoping to finish up the third part and then we'll actually release episode 30 on YouTube, and then immediately hop onto the next project and start releasing that one, potentially in parts as well, just to continue it on. For the record, I have released them on Patreon. However, they are entirely free to go and watch. You just have to go onto my Patreon to access them. Anyone can watch them because whatever, I don't care. I just didn't want to make them entirely public because I am a coward.
Hello there, it's me, Nigel Bixby, the 40 Cray Intrepid Explorer. Hello, jolly good to be back. I haven't been here since episode 2. Well, this one's shaping up to be a multi-parter. Stay tuned for the next episode with Alfabusa and Speaker D. We'll talk about the future of their shows, how they think Games Workshop's business is developing, and share some opinions on Warhammer Plus. Until then, ta-ta! Thanks for joining. Cheerio now.